Have you ever had one of those moments where you suddenly realize that there are about 10 different things that you meant to deal with, but you're not even quite sure where all of the pieces of information for them are? Like maybe you walked into your kitchen this morning and you saw a piece of mail on the counter and you're like, oh, did I pay that utility bill? When is it due? I definitely got to take care of that. But you leave the utility bill there on the counter. And then you think, oh no, the wedding's coming up. Where is that meal card to RSVP to? I tucked it in somewhere safe. Apparently, it's so safe you can't even find it. So you're like, you know what? I'm going to just go and text them and see what I can do, right? So you pick up your phone and you're like, oh no, there's 3 text messages I meant to respond to. And of course, there's also probably thousands of screenshots too that you meant to look at. And you just start to feel this overwhelm. Like, I'm just failing at adulting. Everyone else can get it together. Everyone else has their life together. And I can't take care of these basic tasks. What happens is that over time, it starts to weigh on us, right? We start to chastise ourselves. Like, why can't we just get this together? How hard can it be? You left the visual reminders everywhere. And you are going through your home and you're actually focused on something else, or you're trying to bond with your family, or you're, processing some problem in your mind. And all of a sudden, you're just being hit with all these to-do list items, right? That bill does need to get paid, but doesn't need to get paid right now. Probably not. And so what happens is when your active paper is all over the place, you feel like you're all over the place and that anxiety just increases. And I also want to assure you, you are not alone. We've all been there. I think everybody falls into a busy season where things back up and it just feels so overwhelming. But today I'm going to show you how you can dig it out by setting up a system. Now, when we're talking about these papers, I'm using the term paper very loosely, okay? It can be your literal paper, like your mails, your receipts and forms. But often in today's society, our paper is digital. So we're also including things like emails, screenshots, text messages, notifications. And sometimes you actually don't even have it written down anywhere at all. You just keep it floating around in your mind, like don't forget to, or all those ideas that pop up in the middle of the night when you're trying to fall asleep. So in this series, we've already talked about, the mindset of paper. We've already cleared out the backlog. And today we're going to be talking about active paper. And active paper is all the things that you have to deal with. Like, they're not memories. They're not long-term papers. They're all the little pieces that come and go throughout our lives. And honestly, this could be one of your larger volumes of paper that you're actually physically touching. Okay, so when I was trying to prepare for this video, I was thinking, what is the easiest way to explain how to keep your active paper simple? And I kind of started looking at all the systems that work for people. So I personally like the Sunday basket system by Organize 365, but there's other similar systems that people really like and really stick to. And the reason I think that they do that is because, one, it addresses the 4 issues that we're going to talk about today, but they also allow for a lot of customization. I started thinking about the concept of a dinner plate, right? Everybody's probably not have dinner tonight, and all of our dinners are going to look different, but they're only kind of consist of 4 different components. You're going to have a plate of some kind, you're going to have a protein of some kind, a side, or a vegetable of some kind, and then of course you're going to have some seasoning or some sauce that brings it all together. And they're all going to look different. It's going to be different based on your season of life. It's going to be different based on who you live with. It's going to be different based on your preferences, but all 4 of those components are together, and because they are, it all works. Like, if you had dinner without the protein, that would be sad. If you had dinner without the plate, it's a whole disaster, right? So we need the 4 components, but what those 4 components are can be completely customized to you. So let's start with the first one, the plate. The plate is simply where information lands before you decide what to do with it. And in the mindset video, we talked about all of the inputs that we have coming into our lives. For most of us, that information comes through 3 main streams. It's our physical paper, our digital information, and then all the mental stuff that we're carrying around in our heads. So we'll start with the easiest to understand, which is the physical paper, right? This is the mail that comes through the door, the receipts, the papers from your doctor's office, calendar notifications, invites. It could also be articles that you printed because you thought you would want to read them, a magazine, a newspaper. So for me personally, my plate that I use to collect all my inputs is the Sunday basket system by Organize 365. I've been fortunate to be a certified organizer with them since 2019, so I know not only how it works in my home, but I also get to see how a lot of my clients use it for their unique types of papers. And of course, when you look at the Sunday basket online, you're going to say, oh my gosh, that's so expensive for a box of folders, and it is. But what it is actually a course and everything else. So we'll leave the link below if you're interested, and I'll also leave her book below, because if you want to do it yourself, which is definitely an option, the book really walks you through the whole process. But it doesn't really matter about the tool. It's more that you have the concept itself. So the main concept of the Sunday basket is that all my physical papers go into that Sunday basket. So I know that, my husband knows that, people who visit our home know that, and it's also where I can jot down ideas that are in my mind and throw them into the basket. And then for my digital items, I honestly like to flag them in my email using a separate icon, and then I also like to keep them in my notes app. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But right now, having one landing spot for most of your physical paper is going to be great. So if you have a Sunday basket, great. That's the landing spot where everything goes. But if you don't have a system, a tray on your desk will work, a basket near the entryway. Perhaps you're a visual organizer, so wall folders in your command centers are awesome, or even just a bin on the shelf. The container itself doesn't really matter as much as the consistency, because what I found is that it's not even the volume of paper that we're dealing with, it's the fragmentation that adds to the stress. Because when you have paper landing on the counter one day, on your purse the next day, in the car the next day, even just finding a few pieces of paper, it becomes overwhelming because you don't have one place where it goes. But of course, physical paper is only part of the picture in today's modern age. The other big portion is digital. Information that might come through emails, text messages, community portals, apps on your phone, or even those screenshots that you took because you didn't want to forget something. But the challenge with digital information, unlike the physical paper where we can see it and we can push it all together, the digital information lives separately in its own little corners of the web, right? It's not in one pile. So there are, of course, some ways that you could try to pull all these into one place, but that becomes really messy and really much an overwhelming burden. What I have found that has really helped me and some of my clients is creating what I call a digital roll call list. It's literally just a list of places where information tends to land in my digital life. So what I did is I just created a quick index card, nothing super fancy, and it's just a little checklist like, hey, when you're going through your papers at the end of the week, can you look at your personal email, your work email, your text messages, go through your screenshots, and if there's any apps I need to check, I just put those on there as well. So that way when I sit down to process my papers for a week, I just walk through that list and check each place. Not because I'm responding to everything immediately, but because it helps to see all the inputs before I decide on what matters. And then there's the third stream that people don't talk about very often, and that's the mental stuff. These are things that you meant to write down, but you didn't. The thought that pops into your head while you're driving, or when you finally sit down at night and you suddenly remember, oh my gosh, there's 5 things I totally forgot to do. So what I like to do, again, when I'm getting my plate together, right, I like to actually just take 5 minutes and do a quick brain dump. If you've never done a brain dump before, it's really simple. You literally just grab a pen, a paper, and you set a timer for 5 minutes. And the reason you want to set that timer is because it really forces you to think through your ideas. So whatever pops into your mind, whether it's a to-do list item, a thought, something completely random, you just write it down. You don't want to judge yourself. You don't want to organize it. And in those first couple of minutes, you're going to have so many obvious tasks. You're going to think like, oh, this is silly because I already knew I had to do that stuff. Because that's the stuff that's already queued up in the front of your mind, right? And then you'll hit this lull where you're like, oh, I'm totally done. And yet at minute 4, which always happens to me, like minute 4, 4.5, I suddenly remember all the really, really important things that I need to start showing up for. So I encourage you to make sure that you're setting that timer for a full 5 minutes. Okay, so now we have all 3 streams in front of us. We have our physical, we have our digital, and we have our mental. Once those 3 streams all have somewhere to land, this is where the shift happens. The volume of information hasn't changed. You don't have any less active papers than you did before, but now you're not chasing it, and you can see everything and decide what really requires your action. And that's what I think of as the protein on the plate. So our plate, again, was all those inputs. Now we're going to actually sort it out into what we call the protein, and we say, okay, on our whole dinner plate here, what are the things that actually have to get done or something will happen? So like if you have a bill to due date, you'll probably get a fee. If you don't sign a signature form, there's going to be some kind of a compromise. If you don't sign up for the event, you're going to miss something that you really wanted to do. So whatever it is, these are the things that you actually have to follow up on. And for me, what I found is that if I just create one long laundry list of all these items, I start to treat them all equally, or right? Like buying toothpaste is now equally as important as insurance, as, submitting paperwork for a family retreat. And everything is just feeling equally urgent, which is just exhausting. So one thing that helps a lot is sorting your actionable items. So in my Sunday basket, I actually have my protein paperwork, right? All these things that have a consequence to them divided into a couple subfolders. So I have urgent, which is like it has to get done this week. I have to-do list items that have to get done like in the next couple of weeks, so they're not as urgent. And then I have a waiting for folder, which is actually really a key to making this process work for me, because the waiting for folder is things that have to get done that I've already taken my action on, but I'm waiting for someone else to do it. So, for example, my car registration, I have paid the check, I sent it in the mail, but I haven't gotten a sticker back. So until I get the sticker back, I'm going to keep the proof that I actually submitted the paperwork. So along with the actual sorting of the paperwork, I also like to have my master to-do list, which I keep in this very glitzy notebook. And what I do is I actually break my to-do list into different pages in the notebook. I'll have like urgent tasks, I'll have work task, project task, client project task, home renovation projects that don't have to get done today, but that I would like to do, shopping lists. They're all in here on separate pieces of paper. And for me, I like it because it shows me over time what to-do list items keep popping up. But I also don't feel like I ever have to worry about something falling off. Like if I just had it on little index cards, I think I would lose track of all the to-do lists over time. So I like having this master list. I don't work from that because that would be exhausting, but I do like to have it for my weekly planning, and then I pull out what it is that I actually want to tackle on those lists. Now, the question that most people will usually ask at this point is, okay, but how do you even capture all these items in the first place? So honestly, there's a lot of ways to do this. One of my ways is really simple. I like to buy these oversized pieces of paper. They're basically like 2 clear sheet papers wide. I just get whatever's on clearance at Amazon Outlet. And I just kind of use these as like placemats for the day, and I'll jot down any notes or any ideas on there. And then again, I throw those into my Sunday basket system, but you could also just gather them at the end of the week as you're going through your papers. Before that, when I didn't have a permanent desk and I was working in manufacturing where we don't have our phones a lot, I actually keep a basic 8.5 by 11 paper that I folded into thirds. And I really like this idea because I would keep like my main to-dos here. I would keep my personal to-dos on the inside flap so people didn't see it. If I had circle backs, I kept that on the back page because then like if I'm talking to someone, I could just write it down and then I would have a reminder to circle back with them. And the beautiful part of that is that a sticky note fits perfectly on here. So a 3x3 sticky note. So you can actually keep your little notes on the inside of your thing. And you could get really bougie, which is actually what I did before. And I would make a grid by each day. And I would just kind of track those meetings that we had or any big things that I wanted to remember on the inside of it. So it doesn't have to be complicated to work. And this is awesome too, because you can also fold it up and fit it into like your ID card or into your pocket, whatever works for you. But we live in a digital world, right? And so if I'm out and I think of something, I like to use just the basic note app on my phone to write down like, hey, check in with this, do that. I find that that works really well. We have done things on like Trello if you want to try to push things together. But another cool way that you can do it is to set up a free Google Voice number, which can help also like if you don't want to give out your personal number to everybody, like on Facebook Marketplace or something, and you just want another number. There's a lot of benefits in having a Google Voice number. But what I do is I actually will text different information back and forth to myself as well. So if it's not in my notes app, it's usually in my text messages. And again, I'm looking through that on that index card. So I'm not forgetting to check those pieces. I personally know I love to take a lot of screenshots. I think maybe it's a generational issue, but when I try to take a screenshot now, I'll actually open the edit tool that pops up as soon as you take the screenshot, and I'll circle what I want to remember, or I'll write a quick message about why I saved it, so that when I go through it at the end of the week, I also remember why I thought this would be important. The tool again here doesn't really matter as much as the fact that you have a way for these items to land quickly. So once we separate out all the items that have a consequence, be it good or bad, right? Those are our proteins. We're going to move on to the side, which is the vegetables. And these are the papers that really can clog up your system because they're things that you want to have, but they don't have a timeline consequence to them. So these are things like magazine articles, recipes, travel ideas. They could be project inspirations. If you're doing research, like Mary does a lot of ancestry research, and so she doesn't have time to do it right now, but she has a lot of the documentation for it. Or again, it could be digital, like the screenshots of books that you want to read. So for me, these actually kind of create guilt in two different ways. So the first way is that I see them and I think, oh my gosh, I had all these great ideas, and if only I could get myself around to taking action on them, I would be so much better off in life. And that's not really a true thought, right? But you can feel that, like, oh, I really meant to finish that. So just understanding that these are actually just waiting for their ideal time to pop up in your life. And yes, you might not need them all, and you may be able to declutter them over time, but you need to have a way to contain these vegetables so you're not touching the meat. So very much like a toddler, we don't want the food to touch. The problem is when they are touching. So when these are nice to have papers, these inspirational papers are living with your actual to-do list or responsibility papers, it makes it look like everything in there is a to-do list item. I really recommend that you create a separate folder, a separate bin, or a separate digital category, because likely you have a lot of screenshot ideas like I do. So create an extra separate album for like the books that you want to read, business ideas, home decorating ideas. When your inspiration has its own place, it stops feeling like unfinished work and it just becomes something interesting that you might explore later. Then we finally get to the sauce. And the sauce is the rhythm that keeps the whole system alive, because you can have the best basket in the world. You can have the best folders in the world, the best ideas in the world. But if you never sit down to review them, the system is going to quietly stop working. And so for me, that rhythm usually happens on Friday evenings. When I was working in a traditional office environment, like when that 2:30 slump hit, I would just take that time to clear off my desk, update my papers, do all the faxes, because the government still requires faxes. Right? And I would pull all my stuff together and I would be prepared for the next week. And I was able to close the door on Friday night and not have to worry about it until Monday morning. Now at home, for me, I would like to do it on Fridays as well, but it just always seems like there's so much going on with work on Fridays that I typically actually go through my home stuff on Saturday mornings. I like to do it early in the weekend because it gives me the whole weekend to tackle any chores that need to get done, or if I need input from my husband or something, it gives us a little bit more flexibility than if I wait till Sunday night. But obviously, a lot of people like to do it on Sunday night. There's really no wrong time. And then there's also the rhythm that maybe once a week doesn't work for you. Maybe twice a month works for you. Like you can do it the 15th and the 30th of the month. Mary, she likes to do hers every single day. Like she likes to just have small pieces of time where she sits down, she goes through her digital stuff at night as she's winding down, and then she goes through her mail like when it comes in, and she'll just take a few minutes to process everything. It's what works for you, because once again, it's that consistency piece. Once your brain knows that there's a regular time when everything gets reviewed, it's going to stop constantly reminding you about the things. It's going to take several weeks. Like most likely it's going to take 5 to 7 weeks of doing this consistently before your brain's like, okay, I can trust the system. But that's really the goal with active paper, right? It's having it to be one type of a chore that doesn't always weigh on you. As you're walking through your home, you're not thinking about the dishes in the sink unless you go into the kitchen and you see the dishes in the sink. I want that for you for active paper as well. That when you see a paper, you know, hey, I put this in one spot. And then when you see that spot, you're like, oh, I know I'm going to deal with it at this time and I don't have to worry about it. Because really that is the goal with active paper. It's not perfection. It's not having zero paper in your life. It's just having a structure where everything lands somewhere, everything gets sorted, and everything gets reviewed. Okay, so that's it for active paper. We hope that you have found this interesting. Would love to hear any questions or comments that you have below. And be sure to continue on our series where we're going to talk about our reference paper in the form of the emergency binder and how we store our long-term papers. Again, we hope that you will like and subscribe and help us along on this YouTube journey. Until next time, friends, cheers. Bye.